It's like, what a time to be alive, to be here. All this stuff's going on. Like, we kind of walk our day-to-day lives, like needing to pay the bills and put food on the table, and there's all this stuff in the news and the things that we're subjected to. But then, like, beyond and behind that is so much going on. There's so much going on. It's crazy. It's like out of this world, and there's like rabbit holes of depth and you can dive into it, which can also take you out of the moment a lot too.
Yes, thank you.
So it's also a careful balance as well.
It is. It's like pivoting and flowing through everything, because there are rabbit holes everywhere, and those rabbit holes can actually change your vibration and take you down into them again, So let's get right into it. So you have had a bit of journeys over in Japan.
Mm-hmm.
And you've done this amazing, like, sort of spirit documentary journey the last few years, which we've sort of been connecting on, hey? So we were just having a bit of a chat then about the earthquake in Japan. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, what I witnessed in Japan late last year was a group of light workers and spiritual practitioners doing earth activation work to essentially support the earth in the peaceful transition and stabilization of our planet during this epic time that we're moving through, like unprecedented time in all of Earth's known history. With all of the different things that are coming in, convoluting at this time right now, that we came here to help support in this transition. And the work that they're doing is at a couple of sacred spots, but one of these sites is, according to what I've been told, it is a direct portal from the source of the universe to the core of the earth, and to be more specific, the crystalline core of the earth, because the work that's being done on the esoteric level, I see and understand, is changing that. Maybe it's always been that way, but it's now crystalline, because this is what we're moving into, this energy. So with that work, they see that the potentially catastrophic effects of the pole shift, the magnetic pole shift, are reaching its pinnacle point. They've said that they're predicting around mid-2025 it's going to be the pinnacle point of the Earth's pole shift. And this is what's causing a lot of dramatic global climate change events and changes in weather patterns and things like this. So part of that, a part of that work is volcanoes, tsunamis, earthquakes. Not a part of the work, I should say, but a part of the effects of this pole shift. So the fact that, and in addition to that, the work they're doing there has been described to me as opening the East Gate. So the East Gate of energy, of light, energy that's coming in from the east. Some of the ancients prophesize that the awakening shifts, the tipping point of the shift has to happen from the east, flood through, and that also they're awakening the divine dragon energy of Mother Earth through Japan. So this is like a big picture, a lot of elements here, right? So if you bear with me. So with the impacts of the tilt shift, the pole shift, beginning to have more and more dramatic weather events, and at the same time, the opening of the East Gate with this earth activation work, and they're working with Indigenous elders and shamans from all over the world to do this work. And they've been on this journey for a number of years. this is a culmination. So the fact that there's a 7.7 earthquake in Japan, there's been another one recently too, it doesn't surprise me at all, because there's a lot of energy shifts that's happened there.
Mm-hmm.
And in addition, there's energy shifts happening further east in China now too, and that has been over a number of years, increasingly over the last 12 to 18 months. And it's moving around the world. So this is how I see it, from this experience I've been having.
Yeah, yeah. And how this tribe that you were working with, what are they called, and why did they feel pulled to do it exactly? Like, why is it their job?
Yeah, so the organization who are doing this work, they literally have an organization called Asker World. And they're basically a collective aiming to create more peace and harmony on Earth, essentially, to describe it simply. But the core of their work and the initiating person who made this all happen and drives this is a woman called Yuka, who is a channel. She channels very divine high source of sacred knowledge, of incredible knowledge, which I've borne witness to her channeling. And so according to this source, she's kind of being guided to do this work on a step-by-step basis from different places around the world. Like, they don't know what's coming next. They're just guided. They need to go here and do this. And they don't know what that journey is going to look like, who's the people they need to work with. And when they get there, they find that person and then they're guided to do that work, and it all unfolds as it's supposed to. But of course, in a very organic way.
Mm-hmm.
So, so it's like source, it's like high source channel knowledge that's guiding this work. And there's lots of different practitioners around the world doing this sort of work, earth activation work at sacred sites specifically.
Yeah.
And some of these sacred sites are existing sites that have been maybe traumatized or, affected it negatively, energetically, through events, through destruction of sites. There's a massive destruction of sacred sites all over the world, right? And there's also, at the same time, which I find really interesting with this work, is there's the creation and activation, or more so activation really, of new sacred sites.
And there's so many, isn't there? Like, we've got major stargates. So I know we know about it. You've got the 12 major stargates, and you've got the 12 inner earth stargates. And then there's another 13. And then we've got the chakra points. And we've got so many different entry points into the grid, into the inner earth, into the grid line, into time, into everything, into even like portals into the galaxy. And I mean, we used to always have this knowledge. And what I was watching something the other day on this, and we're actually used to be, our energy was in a divine state where we were guardians of the earth, and naturally through our body we were sending a frequency into the earth. Like, we have a relationship as a guardian relationship with this earth, and we were naturally feeding it back the right resonance and the right harmony and the right frequency for it to be able to heal and then send us information, and then we're sending information, and we've got this symbiotic sort of relationship going on with it. And where we would used to gather at these sites and, pray and put our energy in and do ceremony and things like that. But now some of these sites have been bombed,
Totally.
built on. And why are these places being built on?
Yeah, absolutely. One of the sacred sites that was activated, so to speak, that's in the documentary that I'm making, is a place that is on the. From what I've been told, this is all information I've come kind of. I kind of like, I'm a communicator of, so I'm hearing and absorbing what I'm receiving, and then sharing it where appropriate. So it's not my knowledge, but it's knowledge I've received from others to then share. So what I've been told is that one of these sacred sites is on the 31st ley line, which connects to several other sites around the world that have been deeply traumatized, including the likes of Mecca in Iran, Tibet, and Jerusalem. So this site in Japan, which actually happens to be a peace tower, has a direct energetic connection with these other sites around the world that are deeply traumatized. And we're witnessing the ongoing like negative energetic impacts of those sites that are deeply damaged, right? And so they're doing this work on this site that connects to it, but it's in Japan and it hasn't been traumatized, it hasn't been damaged in the same way. And it's also a peace tower. It was created with the intention of seeding and helping to create world peace. So they're coming in with all these indigenous shamans and elders from 8 different lands across the world, and local Japanese like high priests, shamans and performers, artists, musicians, to collectively do ceremony to activate this site, and with the hope that it will send ripple energy through their other sacred sites, and from within create a healing energy from within.
And this is where a lot of these, well, you know, look at the pyramids of Giza and you look at a lot of the towers that are around are actually transmitters, and they transmit from one site to another. But even beyond that, like what you're saying is even going into like a portal that talks to another place on the other side of the earth that directly goes through the ley lines or through the energetic grid.
Absolutely.
And so that's the power of us humans, is like our intention and our dreaming and what we're putting in. Like we can be in Australia somewhere, you know, and it can be affecting somewhere completely different as well, like if we're in the right site or portal. So, I mean, yeah, and that's what I really like. So excited.
So cool.
Yeah.
Cool, eh? It's so cool.
It's so cool. And, you know, that's the same as the quantum entanglement and being able to telepathically connect to people and things like that. Like there is time and space, but it's not what we think. Like it's really not what we think. And the more you delve into crazy it is. And so like our job, I just feel like it's our job to like be remembering these ways as people coming together out of all the war and all the genocide and all the stuff that's happened, to come together and to be able to remember this knowledge so that we can all consciously work together with our frequency. Because I did a post the other day, frequency is like the most powerful thing on earth, even over lasers or light.
Yeah, absolutely. There's another one I heard about that recently. What was it? Frequency is the vibration that you resonate at most frequently.
Ah, I love that.
something like this, you know, like, so if we consciously choose to vibrate in a high frequency, in a frequency of gratitude, you know, for all the beauty, the goodness, the wonder, the abundance around us, for example, or just love and unconditional love for our loved ones around us, for the things in our life that we love, just being in a state of love, for example, some of the highest frequencies. And we continue to just consciously come back into that place, into that mind state. Then in turn, that's going to become our frequency. Mm-hmm. It's going to become our vibration, and because we're doing that regularly. So yeah. And just to also mention, you were talking about how there are sites like might call them portals or whatever, whereby on one side of the planet connects directly to a portal on another side of the planet. I was connecting with an elder up Bunjalung country way recently, who shared with me around how in ancient times, when Aboriginal Australia had a direct relationship to Egypt, and a lot of like the pyramids, the Sphinx, all the technology that Egypt developed originally came from Aboriginal Australia.
And in some blanks here. Yes. Keep going.
Yeah. And so this elder knows a lot about this. He spent a lot of time over in Egypt, right? He reads the hieroglyphs. He can read all the ancient relics that are being uncovered and from the earth. And he like one of the connecting elements is water between. And so that water's always used in ceremony because the waters, they were always believed to move from one point to the other because all of the earth is connected through our waters. So they would know that a ceremony in one part of the world with an intention to influence another part of the world can run through. The energies are connected through the water, even as a simple elemental example of that as well.
Amazing.
Yeah.
And so, yes, wow, because we do have history here and sites like we were discussing on going to the Gosford site here where it's actually ancient Egyptian glyphs over in Australia. And there's a few sites over here that don't measure up and that aren't in the artwork of the Aboriginal people, even inland as well. And paintings up in Western Australia that they can't describe that don't look anything like that as well. So, and, you know, that's the thing where we start to wonder, did they actually travel here over by boat or was it more of a portal thing? Like, who knows?
That's interesting, yeah. Yeah, I feel like that sort of knowledge, it's interesting because I feel like we get drip-fed the bits and pieces that we're ready for as our collective is ready for it. So whether we transport it by portal, I don't think we're ready for that yet. It might be too deep. It might be too deep.
And I love that you say that because, you know, like a lot of people might watch this, not many from my tribe, but they'll go, what a load of mumbo jumbo, what a load of absolute bullshit. What, you know, acid are these people on? But when you start actually...
Good shit, mate, the best.
And when you start becoming aware and your channel is more open to be able to receive the possibilities and the vibration of what we're actually talking about, then it actually makes sense. And you can back it up with science. Like, that's the cool thing. Like all of these things that I've explored, energy, even like teleportation, planes of existence, they can all be backed up with science when you really look deep into it.
Definitely. And the evidence is abundant about the connection, the ancient connection between Aboriginal Australia and Egypt. Like this, the story I'm told was that one of the early story I was told recently was one of the early warriors, or who was like one of the children of the early creation. Yeah, there's a creation story which is their original interpretation of what the Adam and Eve story has been kind of more evolved into in the Western context. And one of those, there was three, I think he said that there was three of these original children, if you like, original Earth children, the very first civilization when humans began. And there's a place where it all started. Like it's the stories are there, and that he was one of those original children. Was the man who went to Egypt and ended up becoming and had children there. Ended up becoming like seeding the royal, like the early not royal family, but prince and princess, or the kind of the kings and queens, the high rulers of Egypt at that time, and that evolved to what the civilization of Egypt then became, that we all know internationally now. So this story, I mean, I'm sort of recounting this story secondhand, but I've heard this story directly from an elder who we spent a couple of days with, just absolutely just pouring knowledge into us. It was extraordinary, you know, so many stories and all the proof and like the stones and everything to showcase, like, you know, records and artworks and you know, he gets calls from people over there to read his stones, to read the stones they've uncovered every day, and, you know, mind-blowing stuff, hey? That's cool. That's so cool.
Really cool. And gosh, it's not what we get taught, is it? Everything's completely different from what we get taught.
And the evidence is abundant. Like there's other elders I've met who've shared similar stories about other aspects of this. Like, it's there, but it's just coming back into the public awareness, consciousness, slowly coming as it's ready, as we're ready for it, because it can't come too quickly, because it'll be chaos. We don't want a chaotic transition. We want a peaceful transition. That's how I feel about it. You know what I mean? So it's interesting to kind of like drip feed this stuff as it comes through and absorb it.
Yes, yeah, I agree. Yeah, because if you're hearing that all in one go, like imagine if you heard all the knowledge in one go, your brain would fry. You'd probably pop a couple of vessels, like you'd shoot off into some dimension and everything. You know. So we've got to be able to be drip fed with this stuff. So yeah, we can pass it on. So forth. So, but, you know, I've spent a lot of time on country as well and been lucky enough to, you know, have a lot of years of teachings and things on different countries with different tribes. And I've been very lucky. And they talk a lot about, there's portals all through the bush and there's guardians in the bush of those portals. So a lot of the tribes talk about the guardians that you need to connect with first before you go to any of these sites. And I guess that's why you have, you know, usually have an Indigenous elder take you as well, because they're like a guardian that connects with the guardian and talks to the guardian. It's the spirits and the elemental spirits and the guardians that, open these places for you that like we all sort of work in unison, like all the different layers, the elements, the spirits, us. So I don't know. Have you heard them talk about the guardians much?
A little bit. Yeah, a little bit. I don't know that I can recall any specific stories around guardians of portal sites, but there's people I know who would know. I mean, I think that makes sense. I feel like that, you know, that really makes sense. I mean, you have to have a guardian, otherwise there's dangerous technology that can just be misused and abused, and without knowing, you know, the significance and the place and the role of that site, you know, for us as Earth caretakers, as Earth custodians.
And that's the thing, as Earth custodians, as Earth caretakers, and it doesn't matter what job you have in this life and this system or what's going on for you, like you still have the most amazing potential and ability with your vibration and what's going on to be affecting this planet, each and every one of us. And so like I feel that's why your work's so powerful and like film is so powerful, is to get this stuff out to the people that are ready to hear it, so that they can start choosing a wise path of what they're putting back in, because everything's energy first, everything's frequency first. And being able to awaken and get rid of our traumas so that we can connect properly into life path. Like, how did you find your life path?
Okay, so
without going really deep into it,
try and describe it in a nutshell. Well, I had to go overseas first and live outside of my birthlands, and experience and grow myself before I was ready to reconnect with my birthlands in a deeper way. But I was always just felt a strong calling towards doing filmmaking, and towards connecting with people, towards doing documentaries, towards telling real life stories, and connecting with knowledge holders. Like, I just always been drawn to knowledge holders and original cultures. And I can't explain why that is, but I've always felt like just interested by it, you know, really fascinated to learn and understand more. And then slowly through that work, and developing my skills and having more experiences, I think definitely post 2020, which, you know, I feel was a breaker year. It's a breaker year and activated a lot of awakening on the planet in many ways. And it was a big awakening, beginning of a journey of awakening for myself. then I began to connect on more, sort of like more my spirit guides and my, like what is my mission, and, and kind of like becoming more consciously aware of that through some number of different teachers, spiritual teachers. Yeah. Some of them who are just friend or partner, but others who are literally coaches, different realms of kind of people I've kind of been led to, I guess, to then become more and more crystal clear and understand what I'm here to do.
And how does that feel when you're actually living your purpose? Like, this is the thing. Once you go through the shadow work, you go through the trauma shift, you start, like, your life dissolves all around you. You start thinking, what do I actually want to do with my life? You start seeing all conspiracy theories. Like, it sort of takes this journey. And then you start getting onto paths. Like, how does that actually feel?
It feels great. It feels good. It feels freeing. It feels liberating. It feels graceful and flowing, because you're no longer kind of affected by all the third dimensional worldly stuff as much. You still are. We still are. We're still in the flesh, but you're kind of able to see through and see above things and just focus where you want to be and where you want to put your energy. So it's beautiful.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And the more I reckon we tap into the ancient world, the more answers that we have too. Like, just going out onto these sites, whether it's with a caretaker or connecting with yourself. Like, I've been out in the middle of the desert, like in the middle. I was in the they call the backbone of the dragon, and I was there with my 2-year-old and 3-year-old, just trekking through like this canyon, and I got drawn, like energetically drawn into like this tiny little space in the cliff, and it was about that big, and I'm like, oh, I have to, and I could see a glyph. And it looked like an Egyptian, and it was glowing. And I'm like, I need to go in there. And so I got in there and, got my kids and stuff in there. And it went down into like a big chasm. And it was like footprints going into it, but like sort of like the kangaroo print going into it. And then when you turn around and look and the light hits the glyphs, right, the whole thing just looked like it was glowing. It was like a whole map, like up the sort of entrance, and it was all Egyptian glyphs. It wasn't Aboriginal glyphs. And I'm like, wow, this is just crazy. And then it was telling me about another site and then another site. And it was like a map, but it was also a star map as well. So, but yeah, being able to go in there, and I've been lucky enough that I can sort of put my hands on things and be able to decode things. But yeah, it was telling me a lot about gateways.
Yeah.
So the 80s, one of our bigger gateways. Yeah, and which you'll see a lot in all the paintings and the glyph sites and things like that. So we have gateways into other realms and other dimensions, and like that's just a whole another thing.
Is that what it was telling you, that we have gateways? That was what it was revealing to you about that?
Especially out in the desert. It's all about. And all the paintings, it's about the Pleiades, it's about Orion, it's about these gateways where the original different beings come from that have been recorded in these ancient sites, which are, they say 4,000, but I've been told 40,000. I don't know what you've been told.
What? Oh, what when the Pleiadians came and seeded?
Oh, no, just like the age of these sites.
Oh, well, I guess they'd vary, wouldn't they, depending on the site. Yeah, I've heard ones that are more than 100,000.
Yeah.
Plus 1,000. But
yeah.
But what I was going to say was, one of the really interesting things that I observed on our trip to Japan last year with the different elders, that represented cultures from North America, South America, Hawaii, Aotearoa, Russia, Australia, was the commonality in stories that speak about the Palladian origins and the Palladian influence in humanity's beginnings on Earth. Like I've heard this from like a number of different stories. And the Japanese, there's some of these Japanese channel mediums as well was shared. There was two who were sharing that knowledge as well. And so and then I'm just getting verified from this elder and that elder and that elder, and then this is the story, and then it's kind of like, okay, so the evidence is looking pretty clear. Stuff that we that we not only have like deep connection to the Pleiadian star system in our genetic makeup and in our spiritual connection, but in terms of how we came to being and their influence and their connection with us over thousands of years.
Yeah, that's it. And all the stories add up. And you've got proof of that, like, you know, sitting down and talking with the different things like that. Yeah. And, you know, that's where the dragon comes into, the dragon dreaming. I don't know what you want to touch on with that, but, you know, we're in the year of the dragon, which is means we're in that alignment of that coming through. And to me, like, and being out in the desert, in the middle of the desert, we've got, you know, the dragon spoken about a lot out there in Australia. And, you know, you've noticed that around different parts of the world too. All over the world, we have the dragon connection. What are your thoughts on that?
What are my thoughts on the dragon connection? Well, it's beautiful. It's so cool. It's like being over in Japan and witnessing this kind of like the awakening of the dormant dragon, or they even described it as being like a dragon that had been oppressed. You know, when there was a ceremony that happened around the heart, they described as being the heart chakra area of Japan. Once the ceremony was done, they said that it felt like the throat of the dragon had been cleared. So the dragon could speak again. The dragon could come out again. And there was also there was a ceremony that happened in that heart chakra area, the base chakra or the tail. I think there's a connection there anyway. And then in the crown chakra in the north. So the whole dragon body of Japan, when you look at it on a map, it's a dragon. It's a freaking dragon, man. It was being reactivated. And then we had this couple of Chinese medium spirit workers I met very recently who had been guided to do similar activation work around the world. And they did some activation work that they were guided to do and connect with elders here in Australia. And the back of that activation work, they described as being the golden dragon being awakened here. And I've always felt strongly, because I lived in China for 4.5 years, and spent a number of years after that going backwards and forwards working on a film, working on a number of films, but one in particular. The dragon energy of China, very intense. Like, they call it the sleeping dragon, right? China, the sleeping dragon, powerful, very powerful. And the dragon in our folklore, in Western folklore, is viewed as quite a sinister, evil, dark, malevolent being, right? But in Eastern folklore, the dragon is viewed as a divine, wise, knowledgeable, divinely powerful being. Interesting to see the different perspectives of the dragon. So I see it as both, as a representative of both. And seeing that these energies are being reawakened by our star brothers and sisters here to help seed and activate the earth and humanity at this time, the dragon energy is awakening, and it's coming up around the world. And it has an important connection to all kinds of things. It has an important connection to other energies that have been at play, I feel, in also oppressing some of humanity in ways too, to clear and to bring that divinity back through the bloodlines around the planet.
You nailed it.
I mean, like that's how I see it, and like the rainbow dragon, like
The rainbow serpent, rainbow dragon.
rainbow serpent, rainbow dragon, like we all talk about this time, and which is about that's about the multicolours, all the different races of humanity, with all the different colours, races, and creeds coming together, like the Hope prophecy says at this time. What is it? How's that prophecy go? It says, when the earth is ravaged and the animals are dying, there will be a new tribe of people who will come upon the earth from all races, colours, and creeds, whom together through their actions will make the earth green again.
Oh, I just love it. I can't believe you remembered all that too. Amazing. I love it. And when I see the dragon, like the plumes, like it has plumes, and that's us connected into the higher realms. That's us coming from all the different Akashics and all the different peoples and the races. And that's coming down into the dragon, which is the creation and creating something new through all the different timelines.
Yeah, man. Totally. Like weaving, like it flies through like a weaving magic,
Yes. Yeah. Yeah, that's how I feel.
It's just amazing, isn't it? It's just like, what a time to be alive. To be
I
here,
know.
all this stuff's going on. Like we kind of walk our day-to-day lives, like needing to pay the bills and put food on the table and, make ends meet, and this kind of 3D life that we kind of live, and there's all this stuff in the news and the things that we're subjected to. But then like beyond and behind that, there's so much going on. There's so much going on. It's crazy. It's like out of this world, and there's like rabbit holes of depth and you can dive into in it, which can also take you out of the moment a lot too.
Yes.
So it's also a careful balance as well.
It is. It's like pivoting and flowing through everything, because there are rabbit holes everywhere, and those rabbit holes can actually change your vibration and take you down into them again, Like a lot of the people that are awake and go down the conspiracy theory hole, where's that taking your vibration? You're straight back into fear. What's that going to do, So awareness is good, but being able to navigate and skip through and not actually make things a reality and give them power where they don't need to have power. So I think awareness is good, but the awareness should be on like, what do we want to create? What energy are we putting back in? Like how we bring peace to our lives, how we bring peace and harmony to our little world around us, like our little foundation, our little world that spreads out into other things. That's what I see.
Yeah, it definitely comes back to vibration again, doesn't it? And it's interesting because it's like the notion of conspiracy theories and all the different views of the world, and it's like, can we ever truly know what is really real? Like even all this stuff we're talking about, dragons and all this, like, can we ever really know if it's really, really real? Like, you know what I mean? I don't believe necessarily that we will ever necessarily know if it's really, really real or whatever. But it's sort of like, but I see that, but I also see a lot of other realities and timelines and possibilities. And it's like, okay, well, what resonates most with me? What resonates most with me? What is the reality that I want to live in? That I want to walk.
Exactly. What reality do you pick? What reality do you want today?
Who's your reality?
Yeah, that's it. And it's like that. It's a simple fucking like decision sometimes. It really is. And then everything changes around you.
It's true. The hard part is believing.
Yeah.
Is really believing. Because we're so conditioned so deeply. We're so embedded in this matrix world, from our education, from our upbringing, from our society, from our families, everything. That we're just like, it's hard for us to really truly believe in it.
Faith. It takes faith.
And it takes a leap of faith. Yeah.
And it takes coming together.
Yeah, it does. It takes coming together, definitely. Yeah. The unity is really important.
Yeah.
Really, really important.
I think it's everything, because then, it's confirmation, isn't it? It's confirmation that these things are real and that it's all right, and that, you know, you can see other people on this path, and then that inspires you, and just being in that vibration as well, that collective vibration. Like, that's definitely what it's all about, isn't it? Connecting and, yeah, ascending out of the fallen web of the matrix, trauma, fear, and suppression, which has been devastating on this planet, which we know we can go really deep into the whole alien thing and everything, what it is. But, you know, when you simplify it, it's like, what life do we want to choose? How do we want to look after the planet? And what vibration do we need to be? It can be so simple.
It can be so simple, can't it?
Take away all the rabbit holes, all the fucking stories, all the everything. And then it's just like, yeah, what life do we want to live, and how can we take care of Mother Earth and love each other? That's it. Boom.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Totally. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, of course, like, there's also like the execution, you know, as well. Like, but it starts with the awareness, and it starts with the decision, doesn't it?
Hmm.
And the conscious choice.
Conscious choice, conscious living, conscious choices every day, and gratitude.
But it doesn't. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, definitely. Yeah. But it's also not to say it's going to be an easy path.
No.
In fact,
I need
like the red pill, you know?
Yeah.
Once you choose it, you're inviting more pushback to challenge you. Like when you climb the mountain, you reach one pinnacle, and then you realize you're at just the beginning of another pinnacle. But it's a journey, and then just kind of like trying to make the most of knowing that it's about the journey as well, and to appreciate the journey and appreciate the stuff when it's thrown at you and the challenges and the obstacles, and try to, like, one thing that I always remember that might be a nice little thing to leave us with as well is that no matter what hectic or shitty experience we're having, right, our souls are just absolutely loving it. They're having a freaking ball, right? I had a teacher who told me this. They're having a party because they're experiencing all of the experiences that we're here to have as human beings, man. We're here to, like, be in the muck and the junk and the shit, and at the same time ride the highs and flow through and soar and ride the waves and everything else. So it's like, at the end of the day, no matter what's happening, our souls are loving it because we're experiencing this life on this earth at this time. We're growing, we're learning, we're evolving.
Yeah.
That's what it comes back to.
We signed up for it. So might as well enjoy it. Yeah. Well, thank you.
You can. Yeah.
Thanks for coming on live. I thought there were some amazing things we spoke about, and we had some technical issues, but thank you for sharing your insights. And I think it's important, you know, that we all connect back to ancient roots and be respectful of Indigenous teachings because they've been around for such a long time. And I love that you're a part of that, sharing that knowledge through your own ways. And yes, wonderful.
Thank you so much.
Right. Thank you.
Appreciate it.
All right. Enjoy the rest of your day.
You too. Bye.
Bye.